Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I have a digital bookshelf behind me, but I believe the bookshelf behind my guest, Cate Holahan, I think that's an actual bookshelf. Is that
It
right?
is an actual bookshelf. I'm in my office. That's a bookshelf.
That
Yes.
is a lovely built-in shelfie. I like that a lot. You are the author of numerous books. I'll mention a couple here: Widower's Wife, Lies She Told, Young Rich Widows, and I also know that we're talking about the book Kidnapping of Alice Ingold, which I've had the chance to review for our talk. And you have a book on the way next year, Last Looks, as well. So you are a prolific person in the world of writing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess this Kidnapping of Alice Ingold was my seventh solo book, and then I also write a series with some wonderful other best-selling female authors, the Young Rich Widow series. So that's kind of separate. And Last Looks will be my eighth solo book. So.
Fantastic, fantastic. What got you into the world of authoring? It's an origins question. So, what tapped you into the written word?
For some reason, I just always wanted to write. I actually got my first rejection letter for a book when I was 7. It was from Scholastic. I wrote and illustrated my own story about a monster under the bed, and they did not publish it. And they did give me a very nice rejection letter that said to keep trying, and I did. Um, with a foray into journalism for a while because journalism will pay you every 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
I was a reporter for a while, and eventually, I got my first book published after that rejection letter at age 7. But I did learn a valuable lesson, which is do not send publishers your only copy because
Oh, yes.
it was my only copy with my all my original 7-year-old artwork.
And it didn't come back?
No, as generous as they were with this encouraging rejection letter, I don't think it occurred to anybody that I could have possibly sent them an original, you know.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, Scholastic definitely, they need to update their policies there. They absolutely do. Wow. Um, well, you've since, of course, traveled into the world of writing mysteries and thrillers, and I'm curious about the kind of sinewy plot, the complicated plot that becomes part of these kind of stories. How is it that you go about the process of creating stories like that?
Well, it's funny. My father is an accountant, and he tried to get me to use Microsoft Excel for accounting, and it never took. But I did notice that you could move the cells around and you could put words in them. And so I actually use Microsoft Excel and I have different tabs, and one will be, chapter by chapter if I'm alternating points of view, and I plot out, where I think certain reveals should go and who should reveal them. And um, it kind of looks like this crazy mad scientist document when I'm done. And I have tabs where it's about the character arc and where I see, how I see their um, attitude about certain things changing and where I want them to end up. And then because characters are characters, and as you write them, they never do exactly what you think when you first are plotting. Um, Things will change, and then I go back into this master document and I tear things up and I move things around, and sometimes I reinvent stuff, and that's kind of my process. But so I do love that uh, very accounting business focused program for not what it's what it's supposed to be used for.
That's cool. I've talked with a lot of authors about their process, and I've heard that researchers use Excel. I've used it in research that I've done, but you might be the first author to mention Excel as part of the creative process. So very nice, very
Yeah,
nice.
they should tap into that market. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have students in a short story class right now. They're high school students, and some of them have tackled mystery or attempted to tackle mystery. And I think they don't quite get initially how much work that is to build in plot and get those reveals and let something be sort of discoverable, but not too discoverable. There's a really fine balance there.
There is, and also, it depends on your audience too, because if you always have to have who am I writing for, and I try to write for a person who I would say reads probably like a few mysteries a year, right? So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
means that you are going to get some people who will feel like it came out of nowhere because they're not used to looking for all the clues. And you are going to get some people who read, 50 mysteries a year who are like, I got it by chapter 6, and you're going, well, but if I fooled you correctly, everybody else would think that the whole thing came out of nowhere. And uh, so that's always a struggle too, is who is that reader in your head that you're writing for, and when are
Hmm.
they going to get things, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Exercise in psychology, right?
Yes,
And revising and editing as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's always that after you, I mean, I always say that I would never give in a first draft even to my agent. You always have to go back in and um, really kind of well, actually, even before you go back in, you have to put it down for like 2 weeks and then go back in and think, all right, um, looking at it with fresh eyes, where are the reveals coming? Are they coming too late? Are they, am I confirming something that someone knew from chapters ago? And so as a result, it feels stale and like it wasn't moving. And that's really where you get your pacing, is in the revisions, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a quote from Joyce Carol Oates that said most of writing is in the revising. So, absolutely. Now, I'm curious about Alice Ingold. You mentioned that you have a background in journalism. And so I know that there's a quote introducing the book that is real world. What was the inspiration for the book like for you?
Well, it was twofold, really. One was the Patty Hearst kidnapping. I see a lot of similarities between what happened in 1974 when she was kidnapped and today. In 1974, we really had this advent of computers entering all offices and starting to enter the homes. And by like the night, by within the next 10 years, a lot of people would have a personal computer. And there was this concern, particularly among people who had just been trained in college and were entering the workforce, that they had learned something that was going to be obsolete and that computers were
Mm-hmm.
going to change everything and that people were going to be replaced by machines. And so we now are in on the cusp of this, from instead of it going from a industrial kind of and manufacturing to a digital world, now we're going from a digital world to one of super artificial intelligence, right? Where supposedly the computers are going to be smarter than we are, right? And what
Right,
does that
right.
mean when instead of the computer being a tool, just a tool that helps you do your job faster and better, when the computer might actually be able to do your job without you better than you can? And so I think that because of those similarities, I did a lot of research. I read, Jeffrey Toobin's book about Patricia Hearst. I also read her own memoir, which is written with the help of a writer, but in her own words. And then I read a ton of books about AI to try and get to what's happening and what's on the near term, what's currently happening, what's could happen in the near future, and how people are projecting this out. And so all of that was kind of the dual inspiration. Plus, I was a technology reporter for well, geez, for it for over 5 years, maybe close to a decade, right? So I worked at Business Week and MSN Money, and I was a producer at CNBC. And even though the latter two jobs were a little bit more generally business focused, because so much of business is tech driven, they were also very highly technical. And so I interviewed Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all those people in the course of doing that work. And I think what I took away most from it was really this sense of like the founder culture that exists in Silicon Valley, and
Mm.
this idea that there's a little bit of this move fast and break thing, move fast and break things, which used to be Facebook's motto, which is, let's invent it and see what it can do. And then we'll worry about any negative consequences later. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's still the pervasive attitude in tech, even if they've gotten better at changing their mottos. So it's a little more palatable. Uh, and so what I wanted to look at also was just when you have that kind of an attitude and you have all this technological change and it's coming fast, what does that do for people? What anxieties does that bring up? And certainly that influenced the kidnappers' philosophies in the book. And then So it's a mystery, but it also has this context, I think, which is pretty relevant to where we are now.
Yeah, yeah. Very much grounded in real questions, which stories should be, and real experiences. I'm curious if I can tuck a question here about how the process changes for you from writing solo to writing in a collaborative space with other authors.
Well, number one, I have so much more fun with other authors. As you know, writing is kind of it's a solitary thing. I mean, you lock yourself away and you write and you rewrite, and then when you finally get the courage and feel that it's good enough to send to other people for some, you know, comments and criticism, or your deadline just comes up on you and you have no choice. Uh, you know, that's that process, and you really just then respond to critiques and then refine, you know.
Mhm.
And this from the plotting, I'm working with these other, you know, wonderfully brilliant authors, Vanessa Lilly and Kimberly Bell, and and before Lane Fargo was involved, and so we, you know, we sit there and we plot and we challenge each other to be zanier and come up with something even more innovative. And uh, I do think that sometimes, you know, having the more heads are definitely better than one, right? And then because everybody else has kind of a different reader in their mind, it helps us, I think, connect sometimes with more readers because someone's
Mm,
being particularly conscious of what the person in their head is thinking. And, you know, I'm conscious of what, you know, the reader in my head is thinking. And so that helps. And also you learn from each other because everybody has different strengths. You know, some people are great at plotting, some people are great at you know, really making sure that all those character beats hit and that the person gradually changes. Some people are funny as hell, and so
mm,
you got to
mhm.
get to combine all those superpowers, which I just love. You know, and so it's a lot of fun. It's like being in a writer's room, like a television writer's room, which is, you know.
Well, cool. Do they also Excel? This is the question. Do they
Oh
use
yes,
Excel as
everybody
well?
has adopted the Excel. It's
Nice,
or
nice.
or because it's easier to share. The Google Sheets is, I think, how we do it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, well, we were talking about your role as an interviewer and experience in journalism. What role does research have in crafting a story like this? Because I imagine there are those moments where you have to reach out, pull in real life details, and kind of ground the story.
Yes, I am a huge fan of research. Why make it up when it's already there?
Mm.
I mean, you're making up the framework, but I even go so far as I set things in real houses and I Zillow them, and then I screenshot all the pictures of that real house, and I just move my characters through my not so imaginary house. That I always
Yeah.
joke that one day somebody's going to be reading that and going, "The kitchen's where?" And then you know, they're going to realize that I just took their house. Um, so yeah, I research everything, and I also think research is a great way to always avoid writer's block. I always say writer's block is just you can't see it. So go out and find
Mm.
the things that will allow you to see it, that will allow the movies to start playing again. And sometimes that's a matter of you can't visualize the house and how people are moving through it, or you can't visualize um, you know, the city street. Gosh, Google Maps has been great. I just virtually walk my, you know, camera down people's streets and describe in real time kind of what I see. Uh, so it's so yes, I encourage all writers to be a stalker, I guess, a digital stalker. It's good. There's so many resources for us to make it easier.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, well, speaking of resources, where can listeners go and find out more information about you? And then we'll tag in any additional details about the book that you'd like to share, as well as what is next on your plate.
Great. Yes, so I have a website, like we all must. It's cateholahan .com. And so that has all the information about my books. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and not Twitter or TikTok. I'm sorry, I had to draw the line someplace. I know everybody says that you have to be on it, and I I'm willing to take the hit for my mental health. I just I can't deal with that level of in your faceness. Um, but yeah, so I'm there, and there's also more information on Amazon. I have an Amazon page, and there you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have we missed anything about Alice Ingold that you want to share and what is coming up?
Oh, sure. Well, I just would say that, while I do have all this tech stuff, I think that at the heart of the story is really a mother-daughter relationship. And I kind of sometimes, in getting passionate about the other things, miss that's, I have two teenage daughters, and I think I drew a lot from um, the tension that a mom feels when your kids are old enough to make their own decisions. And they're going to make decisions sometimes that you disagree with. They're going to have political opinions sometimes that you disagree with, or that, you know, uh, and they are going to have a different level of risk tolerance than you might be okay with. And so, and part of being a parent in that stage is, when do you get involved and when do you stand back and when do you let go? And so I think that personally, those are all things that I'm dealing with having a 13 and a 15-year-old, and or soon to be 14 and 16. And so I think I brought a lot of that into the character of the mom, who's one of the point of view characters. And so not only is it kind of a parent's worst fear that your child would be kidnapped, but then also, her having to reckon with, how does she handle this, and what has she done right and what has she done wrong, and where should she have been more protective, and where was she too protective or too much of a helicopter parent. So there's that. And next for me is, I have Last Looks, which comes out in 2026. And that one is about a stylist who goes to uh, Paris to style a recent divorcee who she thinks, just wants a new look and a new life. And really what she wants is this particular woman's life. And so
Uh,
it's a bit of a cat and mouse, like 1980s tale, but then I think with a lot more sensitivity to the female characters, and it says something about hopefully uh, being a woman in today's day and age, and the way women can be valued for for looks or not for looks. Right. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great to chat